And then there were two. It has officially shipped the second 4-rotor, guys, and I can't thank you enough for your patience, for just the continued support. And the reason why is this has been actually extremely challenging for me, is that I swung all the money that came from the rotary Corvette and put it straight towards, as quick as I could, almost too painfully, towards a completed 4-rotor. As many of you have seen on Patreon, the block is done. There's a little bit of experimental aspects to it, but it is a completed, finished block. This is actually half of my block, but you know what's funny? Abel has changed his mind so many times that all the parts that you see here that are actually used in my block aren't necessary anymore. So I literally, at the end of all of this, will have enough to build 3 4-rotors. Close enough to 3. If I had a third E-shaft, that would actually be possible. So that has been a pain in the ass, but no more. This block that you saw, I mean, you can see that the intake manifold's kind of weird, but it is definitely meant for about 1,400 horsepower. There are a lot of things that are involved. It literally, not figuratively, literally cost me $50,000 for the block, the oil pump, intake manifold, and that's it. I paid 50 grand for that, and it's worth it. It's worth it because I've been waiting for this engine for so long that it's become a joke. And it's not a joke on my end. I've been busting my ass to make this stuff work, and here we are. So that's happening right now. I had a guy, finally, the guys with all the carbon fiber drive shaft stuff, a guy came out and measured everything for the diffs and everything. He brought out, the next day he brought out flanges to connect this piece right here. You see the input shaft and the front diff. He brought a piece to make the front drive shaft. That was supposed to not be done until closer to SEMA. The important stuff that I wanted to have done was the rear drive shaft, a little baby stubby thing right there, as well as the rear axles. All of that's going to be carbon fiber. The front drive shaft will be carbon fiber. The front axles will be carbon fiber. The really interesting one to me, though, is you see from here all the way to that tire, that's a long-ass haul, and that's actually going to be made completely out of one-piece carbon fiber. Instead of having like a carrier bearing or something to kind of hold it in place along that section of suspension, it's one long piece. And what they're going to do is they're going to make this side softer carbon fiber and that side more firm, so that you get an even sort of torsional torque on each of the tires, because otherwise you'd be getting some weird bends as a power is applied to each of the tires. So that is currently what's going on. I am absolutely poor, and that's not that's just a simple fact, is that this Corvette did a phenomenal job, but unfortunately, I hate to say it this way, but unfortunately, because of having a wedding and going back home and having all the raccoon babies and all that, the motion or the steam behind this car, people were eating up those videos, that definitely died off, and so we got to go back to the drawing board. This is awesome. I'll be honest, the rear diff, I just saved $2,000 and rebuilt the rear diff myself, and one of the reasons that was possible was because of the welder. I've been spending months, and I'll give you guys you guys are the inside track, so I'll tell you the full details to this, because that's kind of the fun part. You can see that this is the tool. The video for that is actually sitting in the queue ready to go, but that's the tool I had to make to be able to take this thing apart. And we got the new gear in there. You can see there's the old ones right there. So now this is a 4.1 gear ratio, which is way closer for an RX-7 or rotary. But for the longest time, I want to say since SEMA last year, I had both Lincoln Electric and Miller both saying, hey, we'd love to work with you, so on, so on, so on. And no response to emails, no response to calls. It was the slowest, painful process. And it's not that I was trying to save money. I mean, that is, at this moment, one of the biggest goals. But it was that, if I'm doing all this in the public sense, not here, in the public sense, why not, work with a company and have partnership? Obviously, it provides them value and so on. It wasn't until a friend on Instagram was like, why don't you try Everlast? I sent Everlast one email sharing with them all the stats, the business side of YouTube. And they're like, where do we send it? And so huge thanks to them, because now I've been filling in things that I've been waiting for, so I can do it myself. And check this out. So for example, this is minor, but you see that little pedestal right here, and then the other one right there? There's a little divot, but that's just a little crater I can fill in. That sort of work is instantly done. I've wanted to fill those in for that longest time because, you know, you take like the old-fashioned section of hose and then put a bolt in it and then, you know, clamp it down and it looks like shit. Or you just hope that the little rubber cap works. That stuff's, you know, that is just gone. Those days are gone. So I'm gonna try very, very hard to continue to use the Corvette, get the videos to make money for the 4-rotor, because with that new engine coming in, it sounds like, oh, hey, you spend 50 grand, you're ready to go. That's actually quite opposite. What is going on with that car is I'm gonna need 24 injectors, 4 times 2 times 4, 16. Yeah, it's like 24 injectors. It's nuts. It's just ridiculous. But that's because you can run E85 at that sort of volume. But a couple other things about that is, you know, I gotta get the exhaust manifold made. I gotta get the correct turbo stuff set up. It's quite a process. So there's a lot of money. Oh, and fuel, because I want to engine dyno it. I don't want to just slap it out and call it a day. I want to make this thing engine dyno and show people that we're serious. So what is going to happen, this is for those of you guys that watch this part of the video, all of you Patreon users that have been supporting for a while are getting a free shirt. And it is not just a, oh, hey, it's Patreon. You know, it's actually the most basic 4-rotor sick shirt that will not be available publicly. So it's just a sick Ahura. It's going to say, it doesn't look like this. It says Ahura, and then it has the actual speed form of the car. The guy that designed part of the body that, you know, helped mock this up years ago agreed to help make it just a nice, like, you know, black and white sketch, you know, like it looks like with a pencil on black and white. You know, the lines are all drawn into concept. So it's the concept art for the car meant at the right angle. I had to get him to redesign it because it wasn't at the side angle. It was more of a 3/4 angle I don't want. So you guys will have just Ahura and the speed form. So really, truly part of the initial process, that what cleaner of a shirt. So those shirts will be announced honestly to show everybody that they exist, but they don't go to everybody. We're gonna have other shirts at the same time for sale for the general public, and that's a different, you know, obviously that's to help raise money for fuel injectors, but you know, you guys get those shirts and those will be shipped out free of charge. All is good there. So that's the beginning of this phase. But like I said, the goal is to get the rotary Corvette to some events, build breakdown with Hoonigan, just to keep it making money for the channel. The 3-rotor, on the other hand, I'm gonna need to get new rotors and rotor housings, and we'll be able to reassemble that motor. But that's another reason for that welder, is I wanna cut off the whole front of the car, right there, and then, of course, reverse, right around there and back, and tube that. So that way I can simplify it, get more airflow through the front, because the airflow through the front is currently pretty limited. I can make brackets for the intercooler. There's just so much that I can do now that I can weld. And it's basic stuff, but look at this. I went and got used carpet for both pieces, and it works beautifully. So look at, this is actually the non-Bose full piece of carpet for the back. So that'll look clean. The bins, the whole front, everything's all just, it makes me feel good about this car again. And so I doubt I'll move aggressively on this while I've got the 4-rotor and the Corvette going, but I will move on it because it just feels right. It feels right to bring it back. But you can see, look at this, look at how dirty the whole front is. So cut it off right around there and there. But I want to make a little jig that you can put the headlights back in and all that. We'll see how that goes. So that's kind of my major update right now. I don't know how many days it'll take to get the new 4-rotor in, but it's coming. It's literally, as of today, he went to the place. It's like $1,500 US to ship. Hope it's not UPS freight, but I'll deal with it if it is. So we caught ourselves in a nice little lull while I can't spend any money. You know, I literally, as soon as I was getting money in, it was going right back out. And so I have no money to spend on the Corvette. So that's why one of the reasons building things myself has been a very positive piece. So fuel system and oil coolers with the rear diff, and the Corvette goes on the dyno. And that should be some of the next content coming up. And the moment that 4-rotor comes in this building, you're just gonna see some of the craziest blitz and ass hauling, just like the Corvette making it to LS Fest. That's about how crazy it's gonna get. So Here we go, guys. Thank God I've been saying with positivity for so long, but this is actual, paid for, legal, have to get that engine in now because it's shipped. So here we are. Let's fucking go.